How often are you getting thrown from a horse?
Every day.
Really?
Yeah.
How's your body handling that? Because I know you're not. How old are you now? Are you 40?
Close to 40.
Close to 40? Oh, you're not 40.
Yeah.
All right. You can't keep flying off horses.
No.
Tosh Show. Tosh Show. Tosh Show for show. Good morning. I'm Daniel Tosh, the host of Tosh Show. Eddie, I hear you have got a video that you are dying to show me.
So excited about this one.
All right, let's watch.
What happened? What did you do? What happened? Man, you dented the fuck out of your truck. Oh. Do you need me to call an ambulance? No. What did you do? I fell. Well, I know you fell, Jeff.
Even the dog can barely walk. Thank God that truck was there. Jeff would still be stumbling all the way to the ocean. The most interesting thing about this video is that they're probably 38 years old. Yeah? People always like, oh, you look so young. No, I don't. I don't look that young. I look 49. You look old as shit. Maybe eat better, sleep more, do some exercise. You gotta take care of yourself. Jeff doesn't deserve to have that pickup truck, you know? You need to be a man, drive a pickup truck like that. I don't pretend to be a man. That's the end of that statement. No, when I'm in Southern California, I'm barely a man. When I head up north, when I get to the mountains, got my hatchet, my splitting maul. That's when I become a man. Although I've never had to chop wood yet. I had a cord. It's been like 5 years. I haven't gone through it yet. It's like, how much wood are you supposed to burn? Being a man's tough. People depend on you when you're a man. That's why I always try to announce, I'm barely a man. Let's get the expectations back. Mm-hmm. Don't ask me to do things. I'll call a man. I'll pay for a man to do something. Me? No. I'm not the guy. You know, sometimes when I'm up in the cabin, the power will go out and my generator won't turn on. And I go out there with my little portable jumper and I hook it up and I jump it and I get the generator going and there's power in the house. And I'm like, look at that. And then when the power comes back, the generator turns off, everything gets tripped in the house. Yeah, that's a pain. Then I got to go to the garage and I got to undo this panel and I got to flip this big switch. And every time I flip it, it shocks the shit out of me. But things I can't do. I mean, that list is too long to go over. Protect my family? Nah, can't do that. I can outrun them. So I can tell the story of what happened.
Honor them with a story. We got a tale to tell you.
I could learn a thing or two from today's guest. Enjoy. Tosh Show. My guest today has quite a life story I'm going to attempt to relate while he talks about some real man shit like hunting for food and breaking wild horses. At least we both love animals. He's one of the best looking fellas west of the Mississippi. Please welcome Chris.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tosh.
Okay, this interview is going to be all over the place. Your life story is fascinating. Let's start that you grew up on a reservation in Colorado.
Outside of Durango, the Ute Reservation.
Okay.
My mom and my dad kind of had a lot of turmoil. Okay. And she went to the reservation and stayed there for help. And so I ended up being born there. We ended up growing up there. We stayed there for probably maybe 6 years. And then we moved to our own spot in Colorado off of like Ute Trail. So we were in the sticks.
Aspen?
Yeah, there's a lot of aspen trees there, but...
Oh, this wasn't aspen. I got you.
No.
Oh, you're talking about Vail. You grew up in Vail.
Outside of there, too.
No, I got you. You grew up without electricity?
No electricity.
For how long?
No running water till we were about 14. We hunted for our food. We got our water off the side of a mountain, so it kind of melted down into this drainage pipe, and we would collect it at the pipe.
How'd you take hot showers?
No hot showers.
You never had a hot shower?
We had hot baths.
How'd you? Oh, okay.
We put the water over like a fire and warmed it up and then put it in. You know those?
They were cooking you.
Yeah. Do you know those kettles? It's like almost like a stew kettle. You just basically boil some hot water in there and throw it in the tub. I mean, we washed our clothes with a washboard. Mm-hmm. We had an outhouse, had a fruit cellar, basically grew up off the land, like eating cattail roots and dandelions and just weird stuff.
You know everything that you can eat when you're out in the wilderness?
Quite a bit. My mom was
incredible.
really like savvy when it came to picking fruit and just different stuff like roots and berries. It was pretty interesting.
What about school?
Homeschooled all the way up until about 6th grade.
Legally homeschooled?
My sister was the teacher.
Okay, so not legally homeschooled.
No.
Anybody pop in? Any visits from like?
No. Interestingly enough, we were so far out. I don't even think they knew we were out there. So
They don't even know you existed.
yeah, they didn't even know.
How many siblings did you have?
There's 8 of us.
8 of
So
you.
7. Yeah, I have 5 sisters and 2 brothers.
It's a lot of people. I mean, it's like a school.
It was.
Did you guys get Comedy Central?
No.
Oh, that's a shame. All right. Are you part Native American?
Yeah, so
How much?
my mother is African American, Native American. Her mother's Cherokee and her father's African American.
Okay.
And my father is German and Native American. So his father's German and his mother's Hopi. So maybe like 50, close to 50%.
Are you getting a government check or no?
No.
By choice?
I never applied. Never got my.
Apply.
It takes too much paperwork.
I don't care. You're owed.
Yeah, no.
What's the amount that do you even know the amount that they give?
I have no idea.
All right, I'm going to ask you to talk about your stepfather now. I'm going to turn the microphone off and just listen for the next hour because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, what an interesting guy, right? Have you ever seen Davy Crockett?
Like the movie? I just know of Davy Crockett.
The movie, like the
No, I never watched the movie.
King of the Final Frontier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so Dave was like Davy Crockett.
Okay.
I mean, he was super ingenuitive is the best word I could give it. He never told us what he did. But where we lived, he had us like sifting for gold. You know how when you get into the river and you can kind of sift? We always found like these little tiny specks of gold. And we were kids, so we had no idea what fool's gold was. But he'd like come up with these big fool's gold nuggets and be like, yeah, I'm going to town to turn in the gold. But he was actually a meth cooker.
Oh.
And
That's so much different than a prospector.
So he would disappear for like weeks and then come back and bring groceries, and we would get cool stuff from town. Because most of the time we were eating rabbit.
Was he making the meth on your...
Honestly, I really don't know.
Okay.
But he didn't have, I'm pretty sure he was, because he didn't have any teeth. He always had ether and mercury, just weird stuff. I mean, we played with that kind of stuff as a kid. I remember the mercury we thought was cool because you could like spread it out and it would come together. And then Terminator came out and we saw that they were using mercury to make that Terminator guy.
You know, as kids do when you're playing with mercury.
He had a lot of ether too. Our dogs would always get like into it with porcupines. Uh-huh. He would just have a bottle of ether on hand, pour some in a washcloth and stick it over the dog's face and knock them out, and then take his little needle nose pliers and just pull quills out. And
did he know the amount that you were supposed to...
he must have been like some kind of chemist.
Did you lose any dogs?
No,
Do I want to ask? Okay.
Never. I even saw this man pick up a horse one time. He like...
That seems like childish revisionist history.
Well, he put the horse's like front of a body on his Chevy, and then he like went to the back and lifted up the back and threw his back out because he was hurt for a while, and then pushed the back end of the horse onto the, because it had died. I'm thinking old age, but he picked the horse up and I watched him do it. I was just like, geez, this guy is, I thought he was the coolest dude on the planet. I mean, Davy Crockett. He taught me how to fish, taught me how to hunt, taught me how to track. He was very outdoor savvy, I'll say. He knew how to get around.
Do you hunt for sport? Or
No, I don't hunt for sport. We did do it for food, though.
Do you eat a lot? Do you like food?
I do. I'll eat anything. I
You
think
got any food allergies? As a
None.
kid that grew up eating ants, like, is there anything you're like, oh, I don't enjoy
None.
eating this?
Grasshoppers, ants, crickets, no food allergies, crawdads. I used to think crawdads and grasshoppers were the best thing.
What's the fanciest food that you can't get your head around why people eat it?
Escargot.
Yeah, me too. That doesn't seem like it serves a purpose.
I never ate snails when I was growing up. I just didn't see a purpose for it. We put salt on them and let them just kind of like shrivel up.
And die?
I had a friend, this guy he would pick birds up and like bite their heads off.
You were friends with Ozzy Osbourne?
I won't say his name, but yeah, he was strange.
Sure.
I mean, we were eating crawdads and ants.
Right, but he wasn't biting
He
heads
was
off.
just biting the heads off of them. He wasn't even eating.
How was he
was just-
catching birds, just out of curiosity?
Just climbing up the tree
And grabbing a bird?
out of the nest.
Oh, it was a baby bird. Oh, that's even worse.
Weird.
This story just gets horrible.
I'll tell you a story about cigarettes. Remember back when they used to sell the cartons in the store?
Yeah.
As kids, we were bad. We used to steal the whole cartons. And one of my buddies got caught smoking by his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, all right, you're going to smoke this whole carton then. And they made us smoke the whole carton. And I quit smoking cigarettes after that. He still smokes to this day. But
Yeah.
I had enough.
I think they've proven that that's not the right way to parent. You know who's got a great joke about that is Norm Macdonald. Oh, he talks about getting caught, and then his dad injected heroin into the eye of his cock. It's a good joke. You should look it up. All right, how'd that father-in-law story end?
You know, actually, he got killed by bounty hunters.
Okay,
It was pretty weird. Like
that's about what I thought.
Arkansas Dave. He was from Arkansas.
You know the bounty hunter that killed your stepdad?
No. My stepdad's name was Dave.
Oh, sorry.
And he was from Arkansas. So I wonder, like, was that Arkansas Dave they were talking? No, I don't know, though. Apparently, he pulled a knife out at a gunfight and got shot.
Ugh. Well, that's horrible. I mean, you're definitely arguably the realest man I've ever had on the show. Oh, how long do you think you would survive if there was a zombie apocalypse?
I think I could make it. I mean, as long as I was pretty far out and they weren't even interested in coming out there, kind of like Child Protective Services.
All right. Now, you are a cowboy?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean,
But now the term cowboy with indigenous people, Native American, those don't necessarily go hand in hand.
you know, that's the second time I've had that question.
Okay.
And
When was the first time? Did you kill that person?
No. We were in Santa Fe. We were shooting this thing for Filson, and there was myself and a couple of the cowboys there, and they were like, "Well, do natives call themselves cowboys?" And I was like, everybody that works horses or cattle calls himself a cowboy.
Okay.
I think that the word came from, this is just what I've heard. So back in the day, cowboys, black and white, the white cowboys were called cowhands. The black cowhands were called cowboys. And the natives kind of just got thrown in there, whatever, So if you were working on a ranch and you were working horses or cattle, you were just a cowboy.
How'd you get your land out in a Joshua Tree?
I basically wrote the contract for a lease to own for the first 2 years with the first right of refusal. And I wrote that contract during the pandemic. So
Okay.
I had pandemic prices.
Tell people exactly what you did. You were buying a large amount of acreage to open a horse sanctuary.
Yes.
For wild horses.
For Mustangs. I got the guy to sign the contract, and then I ran with it. So I had the first right of refusal after 2 years, and I was renting the land first for $800 a month.
That's a good deal.
So during the pandemic, people were trying to get out of the city, and they wanted to go and be outside, right? And I don't, if you remember, we couldn't celebrate Christmas. We couldn't celebrate Thanksgiving.
I don't remember that.
People couldn't celebrate their birthdays.
What?
So they were all coming to the ranch and renting campsites and celebrating there.
Okay.
So we had like 30 people every weekend there.
Oh, so you guys were like a super spreader.
It was maybe.
All right.
But it was really nice. And so we first started renting the dirt, and I was building fences. So then I built the fences, and then September of 21,
Okay.
I got my first 2 horses. They say what you think about you attract, right? So the first 2 horses I got were very special horses. They're called Nez Perce Blanket Appaloosas. So I took these 2 reservation ponies, and the guy who sold me the reservation ponies gave me 2 horses. So September of 21, I had 4 horses. And then my estranged uncle I hadn't talked to him in forever. And he called me. He's in Palm Springs. And he's like, hey, I heard you're out in Joshua Tree. Are you killing Mustangs? And I was like, what? I'm saving Mustangs. He was like, oh, okay. Because I've heard a lot about Mustangs and like people are shooting them. And I just wasn't sure what you were doing with them. And I was like, why don't you come up and see what I'm doing? So he and his wife came up and they saw and they were like mind blown. I'll say this also. A lot of people come and lose their shit. Like they get there and they cry or they just like go into this like meditative, like start having, I don't know, downloads, if you will, like just feeling like the universe is talking to him. So I think that happened to my uncle. And he was like, how can I help? And I was like, well, why don't you save this Mustang from Colorado? And he was like, okay. So he bought the Mustang out of the kill pen and shipped it to us. So I went from 4 horses to 5 horses. And then another lady called and was like, hey, I got a Mustang. I can't train. Can I give her to you? And I was like, sure. 6 Mustangs. Then
Now, do you break that Mustang?
yeah, we don't even call it breaking.
Okay, I don't know. That's the only word I knew.
We call it starting.
Uh-huh.
So we start them, build a solid foundation, and then let them go from there.
Well, why don't you just let them keep running wild? Or why do you have to, I don't know the rules.
That's, so in America, we have a high respect for horses.
Unless you're at Santa Anita.
Even there, they really
sorry.
respect them and they love them, but it's just that the thoroughbred is so selectively bred and inbred that its hooves are really small and its body's really big. So that big body on those really small hooves is hard on the legs and they break a lot of legs. And that Santa Anita track isn't really giving, so it hurts those thoroughbreds. But on top of that, thoroughbreds are raced at 2 years old, and their racing career is over by 5 or 6. And that's a long career. But a horse can live 25 years past that. The life expectancy for a thoroughbred is actually 19. So they don't live much longer because they really run them hard and into the ground, right? But while they're running at Santa Anita, they're very loved. Everybody takes care of them, they appreciate them, they baby them. But then when they're done running, they go to a thoroughbred farm where they're thrown out with 30 or 40 other thoroughbreds that are retired and they're fighting for their food and they just don't have such a great life anymore. It's kind of like a supermodel who, when she's 16 to 19, everybody loves her.
Right.
And then when she's
24, you're just like, oh, look at this old hag. See if she can fight for some food. So you opened this sanctuary and just right away started just rescuing horses or having people bring them to you? Or how was this working?
So I opened the sanctuary in October of 2020.
What's the name of it?
Cascade Trails Mustang Sanctuary.
Do people ride your horses?
Yes.
All of them?
We have 5 that are not rideable right now because they're under the age of 3.
I can ride it.
You should.
I've ridden one horse.
In your whole life?
Yes, my whole life. I love horses. I love all animals. I love horses, but I don't need to be on them. I just like to look at them.
There's an energy that exudes from horses that's so calming. Like I said, when people come there, they lose their shit. And I think it's just the energy that's there.
I've always wanted to adopt a couple Clydesdales just to look at those things.
Those are called drafts.
Drafts. I want one of those. Do you have a drafts on your lot?
I have 2 drafts.
You do?
They're called, I'm sorry, not Percherons. We have 2 Belgians.
How many hands high is that?
Good question. What do you know about hands?
I don't know.
So hands are measured like this.
Yeah.
It's 4 inches. And you go 1,
Yours
2,
are bigger than 4
3.
inches. The mitts. You gotta do 3 fingers with your mitts.
So we have 2 Belgians. One is 19 hands and one is 17-1. The biggest horse that we had prior to that was the Thoroughbred. She's 16 hands.
Okay.
So yeah, 2 Belgian drafts. They look a lot like Clydesdales.
I just like those commercials when the Bud Light or beer commercials at Christmas time that make you cry.
Yeah. They're awesome.
No, they are awesome.
How many sayings in the language that we have are horse related?
Let's talk about that for a second, okay? Do you say champing at the bit or chomping at the bit?
Chomping at the bit.
It's champing.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the term is champing. But everyone says chomping at the bit.
That's right.
But the actual term is champing at the bit.
That's interesting.
I mean, it kind of is, except for the people that fight me on it. Like, it's because you think of just chomping at a bit, but it still comes from the same thing, I believe.
Well,
but
the
it doesn't
two
matter.
thoroughbreds they do that champ at the bit. So thoroughbreds are trained to run into the bit. Most horses, when you pull back, they think stop. But a thoroughbred, when you pull back, they run harder because the jockey's standing up on them and using the reins as leverage, and he's pulling. And he wants the thoroughbred to run through that.
What do you weigh?
About 240.
Nah. You ever dream about being a jockey?
No, never. Maybe when I was a kid, but no, never.
They're tiny little fellas,
Yeah,
huh?
they are little fellas.
Holy cow. That's not normal.
No.
Well, why don't they just wait? Tell me why they don't just use girls?
That's a good question. I mean, nowadays with sports incorporating women into everything.
Right. It seems like easy to get a 105-pound girl
that's a no-brainer.
that's strong enough to do it. You, what's your love life like? You married?
No, I'm not married.
You ever been married?
Yes.
You have? How long?
It lasted 2 years.
2 years.
The divorce took longer.
Uh-huh.
It was...
Did she get half of a Mustang?
No, I didn't have anything at that point, so she was just happy to get rid of me, I think.
Uh-huh. Okay. So did you kids?
Yeah, we do. We
Okay.
have 2 kids.
Are you done having children?
I don't know. If I met the right woman and she was interested in that, then I would be open to it.
Are you in a relationship right now?
I have a girlfriend now.
Is she the right person?
We're working on things.
I got the perfect person for you. She's just, all she's into is horses. Her whole, but she's 37. She wants to have kids though. So
That's
you have
about
to-
the age.
You have to have kids with her.
You know,
Do you want to hear her voice? You want me to call her, see if
No.
she's interested?
no.
I think you might like her. You let me know. We'll see. I'll check in on you a few months from now. We'll see if you need to somebody to date. I got a perfect person. Do you call your motorcycle a steel horse?
I do.
You ever dabble in pony play?
I don't even know what that
You know
is.
what a pony play is? Those are weird people on the internet that like pretend to be horses.
Oh, no. So the ones that have the stick horse?
Yeah, they do. Is that pony play or no? Pony play,
That's
pony play actually pretends to be a horse.
Right, hobby horsing is the
Hobby
other-
horsing is when you just run around on a stick and pretend jump and all that.
That's
kind of
weird.
Stuff. Yeah, that's pretty weird. It's also emotional though. Yeah, sometimes you'll see them and just cry. Have you always been into horses?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I grew up watching He-Man, and his companion was Battle Cat. I couldn't really ride
That wasn't a horse.
a lion, so yeah, the horse was my Battle Cat.
Yeah, I mean, sure. If you had a large cat, that'd be awesome. I once worked at a sanctuary out in the desert out there with some guys that had illegally, taken a bunch of tiny tigers so people could take photos with them. And then they grew into monsters. And they're like, what are we going to do with them now? And so we had to, send them to different rescue places all over the country. So I'm out there working probably 50 to 100 big cats and in cages that wouldn't hold a house cat in them. And I'm just out there volunteer. And they're like just cleaning all the shit out of there. They're cannibalizing, eating each other, because there's not enough food. The reward for working there was at the end of the day, you got to hose them off. And they were just in heaven to have water. And I'm just like just standing next to a huge tiger with a hose, and he's just eating the water like crazy. I was like, oh, this is great.
You remind me of, I just dug this pond for him. Mm-hmm. So I have a pond in front of the water area, and it's like, it almost looks like you're catching a glimpse of them feeling like, oh, this is what freedom was. We get to splash in the pond, and it's tough.
Yeah, but their space, they're still getting a bit of the good life. You're getting a little bit of both worlds too. Some pampering that would have never been there.
True, very true.
What is the average day for you like on your ranch?
It starts at 5. I clean the pasture. I feed the horses. I fill up water. I give them the buckets. By the time I'm done doing that, it's about 8:30, 9 o'clock. Then I'll feed myself. I actually have a raven now, so I feed the raven. When I feed myself, I'll bring her and put her in the goat pen.
What does it cost to feed a horse every day?
I broke it down. I think the buckets end up being like $3 or $4 a bucket, but hay fluctuates. So a bale of hay can be anywhere between $20 and $30. And if you're smart, you'll cut the middleman out and you'll just go direct and buy the ton. But you can get 150 bales of hay for about $2,000, and you can get 500 bales of hay for about $4,000. So I usually try to get the 500 bales, and that lasts me a lot longer.
Horses, are they expensive to take care of?
They are if you don't know what you're doing, because somebody that doesn't know how to make the feed themselves, they're going to buy all that different feed and they're going to scoop it out individually and end up spending $500 every 2 weeks just for feed. Whereas I can spend $500 in 2 weeks and make that last 4 weeks. So I'm cutting my costs in half.
I mean, it's just a full day. This is just breakfast time. We're just at 9.
Yeah.
What time do you go to bed?
I'm usually done right around like 9 o'clock.
Jeez, this is so much work. How often are you getting thrown from a horse?
Every day.
Really?
Yeah.
How's your body handling that? Because I know you're not. How old are you now? Are you 40?
Close to 40.
Close to 40? Oh, you're not 40.
Yeah.
All right. You can't keep flying off horses.
No, but people that train horses, they learn how to not fly off, right? Mm-hmm. You can control a jump better than you can control a fall.
Okay.
So I'm jumping. If I think it's getting bad, I'm jumping.
You ever see that Mr. Hands video?
No.
Oh, this guy was killed having sex with a horse.
Wow.
It was disturbing.
That sounds disturbing.
Apparently it was legal, though. It was in the state of Washington. There was some like bestiality loophole. Doesn't matter. How many times a day do you say yeehaw?
Hardly ever.
Never? Okay. Can you play a harmonica?
I can.
Do you play poker?
Yep.
How many times have you seen tumbleweed just roll by you?
A lot in the desert.
How hot is it?
It gets triple digits. So
Your horses don't have a problem with that?
it's pretty awesome. They don't. I mean, and I only know because sometimes I don't wear my shoes. I'll run around. We call it grounding.
What?
It's called grounding. So you barefoot. You just let your feet touch the earth.
We just call it bare feet.
Yeah.
right.
There's a technical term now.
Okay.
But one day I was out there and we could probably leave this out too. So I have a campground as well. And we get a lot of campers that come and they don't use all their party favors, right? And people in the desert like to participate in the dark arts.
Sure.
So they come out there with like bags of mushrooms.
I'm going to leave this in just so you know.
Okay. so he comes, he's leaving, and he gives me like this Ziploc bag of mushrooms.
I love them.
So the guy gave me these mushrooms, and he was like, hey, we couldn't finish these. You want them? And I was like, sure. I'm sitting there. It's probably maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I just start eating the mushrooms.
Okay.
Just dry eating them.
You thought it was a snack for real?
I just thought it was food. I thought it was mushrooms.
That's what you thought he gave you.
So I eat these mushrooms, and
6 years later,
the obviously the effects of it took a little bit, but it started. I noticed after that the ant pile was like pulsating, and I felt like the ants were like marching one by one, and I could see them dancing to the rhythm.
They knew you were about to eat them.
No.
Is that the last time you've done mushrooms?
No. I prefer the tea now, actually.
Okay, well, that's fine. Somehow, in between growing up on a reservation in Colorado and being a cowboy in the desert, you lived in L.A.
Yeah.
Of all places. Did you hate it here?
You know, LA's a lot like the desert. Beautiful, but brutal. A lot of people come to LA with high hopes and aspirations, and LA just beats them down. But I really just came to work. My brother had gotten into a motorcycle accident, so I left Colorado to come here and kind of help him recover. No spinal neck or back injuries, but he was bedridden for like 4 months. And I basically had to be like his housemaid.
Did you have to wipe him?
Everything. It was crazy.
My brother had to wipe me once when I was in college. I'd broken both arms. I couldn't get behind.
Wow. Well, what a good brother.
But then you moved to L.A. So did you have culture shock when you first got here?
They shaved me. They cut my hair off. It was like I looked like a caveman, right? I'd been riding horses and training horses the whole time I was in Colorado. And so when I got to L.A., they were like, you're not going to be able to get a job looking like that. You got to shave and trim your hair or something. So I ended up getting a job doing security at the Roosevelt Hotel, and I was working security at the West Hollywood Edition. So my LA experience was different from most people's LA. I just went to work and kind of take care of my brother. So opportunities just opened. And while I was taking care of my brother, I couldn't do anything else, right? I couldn't really have a job, or he required 24/7 care. So finally, when he got back on his feet, he was like, I'm leaving Hollywood. There's no structure. I don't like it. I'm moving to Australia. And he said I could have his apartment for a month, and then the lease was up. So I'm in Beverly Hills. The lease is ending.
That's where his apartment was in Beverly Hills?
His apartment's in Beverly Hills.
Your brother was doing great.
He was doing really well. He's still doing well.
Well, he's in Australia.
Well, he's back in L.A. now.
Okay.
And Beverly Hills.
From eating ants to living in Beverly. You guys are the real Beverly Hillbillies.
That's, I just kind of was like, this is a culture shock for me because people there were like, even some of the girls I talked to, they were like, I would be like, you want to have lunch? And they'd be like, sure. And I'd be like, let's meet at Subway. And they're like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't eat Subway. And I'm like, what? Well,
it's disgusting. All right. And you know that now, right?
Sandwich.
Do you know it now? They make I don't know. No, I don't know what they use, but
so
are they a sponsor? That's a great sandwich.
It was pretty interesting.
All right. So you didn't do well. You didn't do well dating here?
Not at all. It was just kind of tough because, like I said, some of the girls, they even down to like where I grocery shopped, I would be like, let's go get something to eat. Let's pick up some groceries at Ralph's.
That's not good enough.
We're going to Bristol Farms.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you can't have an apartment in Beverly Hills and go to next year to tell me that you went to John's. Vaughn's is garbage. Then John's is below Vaughn's.
I've never been to John's.
There's a John's. It's not good. I used to take a girl every now and then on a date. We'd go to just the food court thing in Whole Foods where you just take a box and you fill it with whatever you wanted. I thought it was fancy enough, but that wasn't good enough. They didn't like that as a date. Anyway, you work security at the Roosevelt Hotel, and you believe you saw the ghost of Marilyn Monroe. So first of all, my ninth question that I ask every guest, do you believe in ghosts?
Absolutely.
You absolutely believe in ghosts. And while working at the Roosevelt Hotel, you believe you saw the ghost of Marilyn Monroe, true or false?
True.
And you tried to hit on her.
Gosh, that's true. So I'm working at the Roosevelt. My shift is 2 to 11. I've been there for probably maybe 3 months now. And there's like, you do what's called a perimeter patrol. As I'm doing the perimeter patrol, you go out and around the entire hotel and you come back through the back and you go in through the back gate and it brings you into what's called the beer garden. And the beer garden is underneath the bridge that overlooks Tropicana. So Tropicana is the pool area and there's the Marilyn Monroe suite, which is where she lived for quite some time, right there on the edge of the Tropicana pool area. So one night I'm walking through the beer garden and out of the corner of my eye up on the bridge, I see this woman wearing like an old white gown and it just looks totally out of place for 2018. And she has a really nice figure with just doesn't look like she fits.
Okay.
So I walk around, I go up the stairs and I get up to the top and no one's there. And I'm looking around like, where did this lady go? But the Roosevelt's known for being haunted. So there's a few different places where people see apparitions. When you say, do I believe in ghosts? I think ghosts are, I know this is going to sound desert woo-woo, but I think it's energy, right? So because Marilyn was there so much and so many people knew she was there and loved her being there, there's like this collective energy that she's able to manifest there. And so that's the best way I can explain her being there. But that wasn't the only ghost situation there. So at the Roosevelt, there's this room called the spare room. It's like a bowling alley / bar. We had a security officer at the spare room get possessed. Basically, I don't know if he was on drugs or what, but he started foaming at the mouth, talking this weird, I guess you would call it tongues, just being extremely weird. We had to remove him from the spare room and then send him home because he was really
Because he was having a stroke and you didn't want to call the hospital?
No, he was having some type of episode. I hope it wasn't a stroke.
Well, yeah, maybe they should have called 911.
But there was a lot of weird stuff that happened at the Roosevelt.
Of course.
I mean,
debauchery.
Oh, gosh. I could tell you stories about the Roosevelt all day. So one time, John Legend's there. They're having a party on the rooftop. One of the guys who's there, I hate that I have to say this, but he was like his head was on his shoulder. So his whole, both of his shoulders seemed like they were shifted this way and his head was over here. And people were saying he was a god from some outer space star series, some crazy stuff, right?
You ever see those conjoined twins that one of them was a cowboy singer, a country singer? There's a little one attached to the head, and she was a country singer. She was small, and then there was a big person that wasn't into country music. You You never saw them?
No.
All right. Well, you look that up sometime.
Yeah, this guy was strange.
This guy in that world.
And there were people who were backing his story.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, they're all idiots. I always give guests things that are on my show. You ever use a lip balm? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But in the desert, it's hot. So you need this little lip balm cooler. Okay. That way.
I have lip balm with me right
now.
now.
Yeah, you're going to put that in here. Let me see. That Blistex might be too big. We'll see.
That almost looks like
that's perfect.
A toy.
No, well, my friend. No, it's not a sex toy. My cousin's, I don't know, cousin's cousin. He invented this. It's got my initials on it. I'm giving it to you.
I love it.
It says Chappie. I don't. But so your lip balm doesn't melt out there in the desert.
Thank you.
Also, you need a lint roller.
Yeah.
My wife buys this stuff in bulk, and I don't like it. No, I don't know if this is going to fit you or not, but I had this one this it's kind of like.
That's a good looking denim.
Well, right. I was like, I haven't even worn it, and I go, I'm not going to wear this shirt. I go, I gotta pass it on. So let somebody wear it. But I don't know if it'll fit you because you're way broader than I am.
You don't want to wear that? Come out to the ranch.
No, I give you this shirt.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Dude, you can just set that all on the ground there. That doesn't matter. Oh.
This is actually pretty cool because chapstick does melt out there.
Well, of course it does. Not anymore. Now you got yourself a cool little cooler.
Somebody's going to think this is a toy.
It doesn't matter what they think, okay? You're a man. You can handle having a little pink dildo in your pocket. What do people need to do to help your horse sanctuary?
Come and visit. Interact with the horses, see that there's a benefit. Like you said, you don't have to ride them to get the benefits.
You currently have 25 horses?
25.
20. How many could you actually, what was the max number you could probably hold there?
When I reverse whiteboarded this, I did it from 90. I could easily hold 90. But there's myself.
How many employees you got over there now?
I have a handful of volunteers and 2 employees. So I have a young lady that runs the back office and a young lady that manages the campground.
I heard you had a High Desert Danny out to your ranch.
Yeah.
That's our snake lady friend.
She calls herself the rattlesnake wrangler. And a wrangler works horses.
Okay.
So I was like, hey, if you're a wrangler, come ride horses with me. And she was like, I've never been on a horse. I'm scared of horses. I was like, it's okay. You can come out here. I'll help you out. So she came out and I put her on her trail ride and she did great. Then she came back. She brought a lot of weed and snakes, and it was fun.
Are all these stories true, or are you just a brilliantly trained character actor?
No, they're true.
Hey, I mean, yeah, you've lived quite a rich life. It is impressive. You sure you don't want to take a run at my wife's cousin?
No,
I'm telling you, man. I think you're gonna like her. I'm gonna send her out there. She's just a horse. I mean, she's in a relationship too, but
sounds like trouble.
Well, it doesn't matter. Listen. She wants kids and she loves horses. Yeah, you guys you're two peas in a pod. That's all I'm saying. Oh, you're gonna love her. You guys, then we're gonna be family. It's gonna be weird. Listen, we appreciate everything you do. All the best,
Daniel. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, man. I'll see you at the next family reunion. Tosh Show. I want to thank Chris for being on the show. I can't wait to get out there and ride that horse. I don't think I'll do it. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to be on top of a horse. I'll stop by. I'll say hi. But no, I'm not going to get on a horse. How about you? You ever ridden a horse, Carl? Can a dog ride a horse? That's a great question. Oh. What's going on? What have you been up to? You watching Wimbledon? Huh? I'm watching Wimbledon. Sinner. The new current world number 1, Alcaraz. Love him. Love Alcaraz. Now, his haircut's getting a little better. It started out very poor. Now it's getting better. Sinner, the problem I have with Sinner, I've seen him play several times. I can't wrap my head around a red-headed Italian. It's just weird. And then when he talks, I'm like, oh, I keep forgetting you're Italian. Because he's got red hair, and I just don't think of Italians as gingers. But sure enough, they've got gingers over there in Italy. Speaking of tennis, I watched that movie the other day. What's it called? The one with Zendaya?
Oh, yeah. Challengers.
Didn't know I was embarking on a little softcore porn. just all kinds of sex in that. I thought Zendaya was great. There's no chance that she should get an award for that. But the story was silly and ridiculous. My problem with it was I couldn't believe the time span that she was 16, 17 in the beginning, and then she's 30 something in the end. It's like, well, you look the exact same. It's like, oh, your haircut, you gave yourself a bad bob, and now I'm supposed to believe you're older. That ass ain't 30. Showing her sweet cheeks in that movie. You believe that? That was uncomfortable. I was just sitting next to my wife the whole time watching this movie going, oh, this isn't necessary. I don't find that attractive whatsoever. Tennis. It's a very sexual game, apparently. That's why I like pickleball. It's less about the sex and more about just hitting a ball back and forth over a net. All right, what's going on? boyswearpink.com. Check out our clothing line for toddlers. The GOAT, all episodes available now on Prime. We're going on tour. We're doing shows, different places, New Orleans, shows in Hawaii. I think we're going to add something in December. We got to find a place to go in December. Another one of my son's bedtime stories. See you guys next week. A little story tonight, because I'm really sleepy.
The rabbit gentle at the end.
No, that's too short.
Okay.
Give me a nice story about...
I know.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe you won't really like this one very much.
Well, I'll be the judge.
Okay. Once upon a time, there were these soldiers in the water. They were living and told but every time they passed away, an alligator ate them. Every single time. Even when it was nighttime, they do a timeout. And then they were fishing. And then the show about the fishing was called Finding Nemo. And then I don't know.
What? That was awful. Tosh Show. Tosh Show. Tosh Show for show.